Hello, I'm Jorge Gestoso. Welcome to a new program from San Salvador. On today's show, the results of the presidential elections in El Salvador. Our guest, Rubén Zamora, former presidential candidate, diplomat, and political analyst. Rubén Zamora, a warm welcome to the program.
Oh, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here and to talk to you and to the people who are looking at us.
Absolutely. Rubén, today, the day after the presidential elections, the results were, if you want, an overwhelming victory for the political party that was, if you want, the outsider, the challenger. We're talking about a candidate called Nayib Bukele. We're talking about someone of 37 years of age. He got 53% of the vote. The two traditional parties, we're talking Arena, 32%. The political party in power, we're talking FMLN, just 14%. Your reading, how you interpret those results?
I think that this is the typical election in which the voter express rejection for something. I mean, for the two dominant parties, because they have dominated the political scenario since the beginning of, after the peace agreement.
1992, for the last 30 years.
For the last 30 years, I mean, and this time, the whole thing started in the last election 1 year ago, in which the governmental party lost the majority in parliament and most of the municipality control. And now the rejection has been for the two main parties that we didn't saw that the Bukele party was going to win the election in the first round. And he did it for an important margin of more than 53% of the vote.
And on the other hand, there is an initial analysis that it says, the analysis says, this is the end of the bipartisanship, because, as you mentioned, only two traditional parties were ruling this country for the last 30 years. Mm-hmm. But the people who do not agree with that analysis of the end of bipartisanship, they say it is not because Ghana, the party of the President Bukele, in reality is a party of the right wing. So it's not really something different that is not left, it's not right. They see as a continuation of the right in a different version, maybe a light right. What do you think?
Well, what I think in the first place, Ghana is the party who won, but the one who won the election is the candidate. And the candidate just used that party to be registered as candidate, because according to our constitution, candidate to the president has to belong to a single party. And in fact, he doesn't have a party. And that's why I don't think that this is the end of the bipartisan system. A lot will depend on how the two main parties, Arena and FMLN, react to this very bad show in this election.
What to expect? Today, this Monday, as we said, the day after, what to expect that is going to be going on politically in El Salvador for the next 5 years, that is a period of this term?
It's very difficult to say, because one of the characteristics of the Bukele group or team is that they don't have open clearly what they want to do, except certain things that doesn't matter, that has more a publicity effect than what the government is going to do. That means right now the whole thing is open. What Bukele is going to do. Remember that he came to be in the last two occasions as mayor from the FMLN.
The mayor of San Salvador.
Yes, mayor of San Salvador. But he get into trouble with the party, and the party expelled him from the post, from the participation in the party. And in that sense, nobody knows really what he is going to do. Even I have my doubt that the candidate, the triumphant candidate, know exactly what he is going to do.
So it's a big question mark.
It's an open question.
Well, he basically, he has been, according to what is a perception of the analysts, criticizing left and right whatever it was going on in politics in El Salvador, meaning that he was criticizing corruption, he was criticizing the old establishment, so he was really trying to attract the vote of the youth, of the young people, of the young voters, and also saying, I'm different from the other ones. But there's a lot of expectations in terms of it's going to be a fiscal reform, it's going to be an educational reform, it's going to be, for example, something that has to do with whatever it seems trade agreements. What do you anticipate that could be?
It's very difficult to anticipate anything because he hasn't shown what is his position on those issues. It's a very vague statement that it is necessary to reform the fiscal process, political policy, and that's all. But we don't know if he's going to raise the taxes or to lower the taxes, you know. And the same thing in education, you know. We need to change education, but you don't know what he is going to propose and how far. And those are real problems in El Salvador, very serious problems. But we don't know what is the answer that this government is going to present.
What do you think is going to be the relationship with the United States?
I don't think he didn't talk about the foreign policy during the campaign. But what I expect is that he's going to continue with the more or less the same position that the present government and the previous government has followed. That means they recognize the very deep link between El Salvador and the United States in economic terms, but they recognize as well that our main preoccupation is what is going to happen to the millions of Salvadorians who now live in the United States, and they are the source of remittances to the country, and the country has become the main enter of dollars for El Salvador.
And what could happen with that relationship with this hot issue that is Venezuela? Do you believe that Bukele is going to recognize the present government, or he's going to take a different position?
I think there is going to be a change in that two issues, because the present government was supportive of the two dictators. And already this is something that he has made public statement against Maduro and against Daniel Ortega. In that sense, I think that he will be closer to the Lima group than to the other two or three who still are supporting these two dictatorships.
And what do you think that is going to be the people that he's going to be trying to attract to create his cabinet?
Well, this is what nobody knows, because the group that is behind him come, all of them, from the old way of doing politics, but they come from completely different positions. There are people who were leaders in the left, people in the right, people in the center. That means nobody knows exactly what is going to happen with the cabinet and what is going to happen with the content of the policies.
There was, in a way, that perception that there is the bet of the future. We're betting on a new generation. He represents a new vision of the world, of politics, of the relationship between a modern way to do politics and the old establishment. Do you think that was playing a role?
Well, in the negative part is playing that, because he presented himself as the negation of all the other things in politics, the traditional thing. But in terms of what is the new thing that he represents, nobody knows. And I have doubt if even he knows what that means when he talks about the new policy.
And in your particular case, you have been not only part of politics in this country because you were a presidential candidate, but also you love to follow politics. You've been a diplomat representing El Salvador in the US, all over the world. Were you surprised what happened yesterday?
Well, not surprised in the amount of votes. I saw that he was going to be the most voted candidate, but I saw that he was going to be around the 40s, not enough to win in the first round of votes. But now, was a surprise for me that he achieved 53%. That means no second round of votes.
And when you were talking to the people that you know, people in politics, but also people on the street, what was your perception that was the reaction after the results?
Well, the reaction was more or less similar to my reaction. Everybody was giving by sure, except the other political parties, you know, Arena and the FMLN, but the rest of us, we were saying, no, Bukele is going to become first in this, and then we are going to have a second round. This is the second part that we were
not expected.
Not expected by us.
Let's see how we interpret or how you analyze the results. We are talking here a candidate that was in a way surprising. He was really overwhelmingly winning a presidency with 52% of votes in the first round, when everybody else was expecting a runoff, a second round. And those votes that, for example, the current candidate from the political party FMLN that is running the country lost 14% of the votes against 52% of the vote of Bukele. Those votes that the FMLN lost were going where? Absentee or to him?
Well, I think that in this election, the number of voters diminished substantially.
The participation was only 44%.
Well, it's more than that. But the problem is here is that they calculate with the padrón, electoral padrón, and this is completely full of dead people. But in absolute terms, less people voted in this election than in the previous election. And in the previous, less people than the previous one. That means the number of people is more and more people are not voting here. And I think these are basically people that usually vote for the left, for the FMLN party, because they are not in agreement with the leadership of the party, right? They want a difference. Some part of the FMLN vote went to the winning candidate, right? But basically, what we have here is that the voters express disgust, rejection of the traditional political parties. And I think this is the reason why he was able to win in the first round. We didn't calculate clearly what was the level of rejection against the traditional political parties.
And another analysis that also we were hearing is that was the contest between the traditional political parties, that they were making a lot of work, groundwork in the territory, going knocking door to door all over the country, against a candidate that was using the social networks as a basic, that was appealing to the young voters rather than the traditional parties. And there's something interesting, Rubén, that since the signing of the peace accords, peace agreements in 1992, it has taken place 27 years. So there's a lot of young people who were born after. And those people are considered centrists, are not into the extremes of the right of one party, left of the other party. So that could have been playing a role?
Well, I think that there is a lot of mythology around that. Let me tell you some very detailed. The use of the social
media,
this electronic media, but all are electronic, yeah. But Twitter and that sort of thing. Wait a moment, he used it before the campaign. During the campaign, he was the candidate that spent more money in TV and radio. Secondly, the second point is that he did very little going around the country doing campaign. On the contrary, the other two, the traditional party, went a lot doing that. That shows that the fact that you go to talk to the people doesn't convince anybody. Yeah. Because people think, oh, he came here because he's the candidate, but as soon as they win, they forget about us. You know, this is a very generalized point. And in terms of the young people, I think it's very difficult to say what is the amount of votes from the young people. The only data that we have that is a sure one is that 44,000 young people enter in the age of voting, but only 5,000 of these 44,000 get the identity card that is absolutely necessary to vote. In that sense, I think the vote for Nayib Bukele was not only young people, was grown-up people as well. In that sense, then there is a lot that we need to register and to study of the composition of the vote after the election.
What do you think about the two political parties that the traditional ones, we're talking Arena and FMLN, is the lesson that is learning from this? Are they going to reflect? Are they going to do what? What do you expect?
Well, I expect that I hope that they are going to reflect on that this defeat is their defeat. That the people voted not for Nayib Bukele, but because Nayib Bukele was telling those people don't work, they don't serve you. That means rejecting the political parties.
Do you think that they are aware that there was a real shake-up, that the message was very strong, or they are still thinking that to blame someone else and not themselves?
Well, for the report that I have seen in the newspaper, TV, and radio of reaction on the part of the two main parties, is that they are in a state of not seeing the reality.
They don't want to admit.
No, you know, in any democratic country, if this happened, next day the whole leadership is putting getting out. You know?
Yeah, probably they asked to be resigned to leave the party.
But here nothing happened, you know. The leadership continued to say, yes, we are going to think. It's the same thing that they did in the previous election, especially in the FMLN. And nothing happened, and they don't change anything. I hope that they have to value what the people are telling them. We don't want to vote for you in the way you behave. And if those political parties don't change their behavior, to go really with the people, to abandon practice that are not democratic, that are not honest practice, yes, they are not going to get, their deterioration is going to continue.
And with the exception of this current president, we're talking about Sanchez Serén, the current president, the three previous presidents were or in jail or in process of being accused of corruption. At least Antonio Saca is in jail. Francisco Flores was involved in corruption, and Mauricio Funes at least is being accused of. That was playing a role of the deception of what political traditional parties what's all about?
This, of course, that play very good in the hands of Nayib Bukele, because he could say, look, the last three presidents, two from Arena and the other from the FMLN are the same. They are corrupt, they don't see the people, you know, and therefore elevated the attitude negative toward those parties on the part of the population that was able to be expressed on his vote of 53%, right?
Do you believe that he's going to be talking about president-elected, virtual president-elect Nayib Bukele, be able to modernize El Salvador and to improve the quality of life in 5 years?
Well, this is the other side of the coin. He's going to govern to start to his presidency with only
on June 1st.
Well, on June 1st, and at least for 2 years, without any real support in Congress.
Absolutely, and there's something that I've learned of a criticism of the co-founder of Podemos, Juan Carlos Monedero. He said, careful, he won the government, but he doesn't win the power.
Well, this is traditional here, that power in the deep sense of the word remain, no matter who is in the presidency. That is true. But in this case, the problem is more immediate, because without Congress you cannot rule. Look what happened to President Trump in the United States. Lost not the whole Congress, lost the
House of Representatives.
The House of Representatives, and it started to have more and more problems. Here in El Salvador there is only one chamber, the National Assembly, and in the National Assembly the most that he could think that who had as support is 10 or 11 members of Congress out of 83. 84, right. In that sense, for him it's 2 years that is going to be very difficult to try to do something, because he needs to deal with problems.
To make alliances.
With alliances. And with whom is going to make alliance? Who want to make alliance with him? Or the political parties are going to start, okay, let's hate him, because an election will start for Congress in 2 years, and therefore we are going to regain or maintain our power in Congress.
His challenge is big.
His challenge is terrible.
Rubén Zamora, thank you very much for joining us.
Okay, it's a pleasure, and thank you very much for people that hear us.
Thanks again.
Bye-bye. Thank you.